Picture this. It's 15 AD, and you're a wide-eyed toddler in a Roman legionary camp on the Germanic frontier. The air reeks of sweat, iron, and the acrid smoke of campfires. Your father, Germanicus, is a war hero, adored by soldiers who dress you in miniature military gear, including tiny boots, Caligula, earning you the nickname that would stick, Caligula. But this isn't a playful upbringing. You're surrounded by the screams of the dying, the clash of swords, and tales of conquest that glorify violence as entertainment. Ancient historians like Suetonius suggest this environment normalized brutality for young Caligula. By age 6, tragedy strikes. Germanicus dies mysteriously, possibly poisoned, plunging your family into paranoia. Your mother, Agrippina the Elder, whispers of plots in the imperial court, teaching you that power is a venomous game. Modern psychology might diagnose this as early trauma, desensitizing a child to suffering and planting seeds of sadism. Little do the legions know, they're nurturing a predator who will one day turn his gaze inward, weaponizing sex as his ultimate tool of control. Fast forward to 31 Caetoi. Chaute no fuedi. You're a teenager summoned to the sun-drenched island of Capri, home to your great-uncle, Emperor Tiberius. What sounds like paradise is a den of horrors. Tiberius, retreating from Rome's politics, indulges in unspeakable acts. Suetonius whispers of little fishes, young boys trained to nibble at the emperor's body in pools, and chambers designed for group debaucheries that shatter the innocent. You, Caligula, don't just survive, you observe. Cassius Dio claims Tiberius recognized your potential for cruelty, calling you a viper for Rome. Here, you learn that power grants license to any impulse. Sexual acts become experiments in domination, forcing participants into humiliating roles, blending pain with pleasure. Historians debate if you were abused or merely apprenticed, but one thing is clear. You master the art of masking rage behind charm. When Tiberius dies in 37 AD, rumors say with your help, you ascend at 24, inheriting an empire ripe for your twisted education. It's 37 AD and Rome celebrates your rule. You release prisoners, host games, and seem the benevolent antidote to Tiberius's paranoia. But in the palace shadows, the mask slips. A mysterious illness strikes you months into your reign, perhaps epilepsy or encephalitis, as Suetonius speculates, leaving you changed, more volatile. Your sexual appetites erupt. You marry 4 times, each union a farce of domination. First, Junia Clodilla dies in childbirth. Then, you abduct Livia Orestilla from her wedding, declaring her yours before banishing her for lingering loyalty to her husband. Lollia Paulina, wealthy and beautiful, is divorced for infertility. Finally, Melonia Caesonia, older and experienced, bears your daughter, but even she isn't spared your whims. These aren't love matches. They're conquests, foreshadowing how you'll treat Rome's women as property. Palace servants murmur of your insatiable nights, where pleasure turns to punishment, setting the stage for empire-wide terror. By 38 AD, your obsession turns inward, to your sisters, Agrippina, Livilla, and especially Drusilla. Suetonius claims you prostituted them to favorites, but the real horror is the incest. Rumors say you deflowered Drusilla as a teen, discovered by your grandmother Antonia. In power, it escalates. You share beds publicly, force them into orgies while you watch, and declare Drusilla your wife in all but name. Picture a banquet. Senators feast as you fondle Drusilla at the high table, her face a mask of forced compliance. You elevate her to goddess status, blending divine worship with degradation. Religious rites become veiled sex acts. When Drusilla dies, possibly from abuse or illness, Your grief is lover's madness. You deify her, enforce empire-wide mourning, and make smiling treason. Historians like Barrett debate the truth. Contemporaries like Philo omit it. But the pattern is clear. You weaponize family ties, turning love into a tool of psychological torture, ensuring no bond remains uncorrupted. Your depravities spill into Rome's nobility. Suetonius describes how you target senators' wives, announcing at dinners your intent to bed them. "I'll have her tonight," you declare, forcing husbands to nod approval or face death. Afterward, you critique their performance publicly. "She was cold," or "too eager," clearly experienced. One infamous tale. At a banquet, you summon a senator's wife, vanish with her, then return disheveled to detail her flaws while her husband feigns laughter. This isn't lust. It's calculated emasculation. You force nobles to pimp their daughters, turning the palace into a brothel where matrons and youths serve for loans to the treasury. Cassius Dio notes you tax prostitutes, including those you coerce, blending sexual terror with fiscal extortion. The elite live in dread, their homes no longer sanctuaries, as you prove no one's dignity is safe from imperial whim. By 39 AD, your horrors go public. The Circus Maximus, once for honorable games, becomes a theater of degradation. You force captured enemies' wives and daughters into sexual displays between gladiatorial bouts. Public rapes, disguised as entertainment. Families watch from the stands, their agony, your true thrill. Suetonius recounts mirrors positioned to study victims' expressions. Fathers weeping as daughters are violated, mothers shielding children's eyes. You randomly select audience members, respectable matrons, for impromptu acts, turning spectators into participants. Nobles must send wives as attendants, knowing they'll perform for the mob. Refusal? Execution of their kin. These aren't random. You train gladiators in sexual techniques to maximize trauma, blending combat with violation. Rome's citizens, initially shocked, grow numb, normalizing the emperor's sadism as the price of survival. Your palace transforms into a full-scale harem brothel by 40 AD. Agents scour the empire for women, not just beauties, but those whose ruin shatters families. Generals' daughters, senators' brides. Suetonius claims you staff it with aristocrats, charging entry to fund extravagances like pleasure barges on Lake Nemi, adorned for orgies. This is no mere indulgence. It's a laboratory of terror. You keep records, psychological profiles, responses to degradation, techniques for breaking spirits. Family members must deliver victims, watch sessions, and express gratitude. Survivors return home as shells, spreading trauma like a plague. Marriages dissolve. Children fear inheritance of shame. You claim divine right, forcing priests to bless these acts as sacrifices. The harem's bureaucracy, guards, scribes, becomes complicit. Their morals eroded until they enable horrors unimaginable. In 41 AD, your appetites defy humanity. You impersonate gods for seductions, Jupiter ravishing mortals, Apollo in divine ecstasy. Rumors swirl of Congress with the moon goddess, tying to your epilepsy. Palace sounds, not passion, but screams blending laughter and agony. You demand impossible reenactments, mythological rapes with real victims, months-long tortures. Staff suffer PTSD. Senators plot in whispers. Your wife Caesonia participates, perhaps drugged or devoted, but even she senses the end. The Praetorian Guard, forced into complicity, boils with rage, especially Cassius Chaerea, humiliated by your effeminate taunts. Your reign of sexual terror has created too many enemies. The Empire's fabric phrase. January 24th, 41. 3rd AD. During theatrical games, conspirators strike. Chaerea stabs you 30 times, each wound vengeance for violated loved ones. Your body, hacked beyond recognition, symbolizes the fury unleashed. Guards slaughter your family, including infant daughters smashed against a wall. Claudius inherits a scarred Rome. He dismantles your apparatus, burns records, aids survivors. But the damage endures. Generations carry psychological scars. Imperial trust erodes. Historians suppress details, fearing they taint the throne, but fragments survive in Suetonius and Dio. Modern views. Some see exaggeration by biased elites. Others, a case study in power's corruption, amplified by possible mental illness. Caligula's story warns, unchecked authority breeds monsters. Sexual terror wasn't just personal. It was systemic, echoing in today's abuses of power. If this chilled you, subscribe for more echoes of empire. Next, Nero's fiery perversions. Until then, remember, history's darkest acts remind us to guard against the insane within.